Hey family, welcome. It's really good to be back with you. So, how'd your first week go? 3 classes. That's a lot. And how was Life Maps for you? What did you find out? What did you learn that you didn't know about your journey so far? What we heard as we shared our Life Maps was that for a lot of people, there were some gaps before age 7. There were some things that were hard to remember. And what we know about coming out into this world through age 7 is a lot of our core beliefs. A lot of the way that we look at and interact with the world happens during that time. That's why we devote a whole week to childhood, to early childhood, and our early beliefs in early childhood. This is that week. So we're going to start off, and today we're going to dive into shame, and we will explore shame a lot in this video together, one-on-one, and then we'll demystify, deconstruct, and share more about shame in the Monday class. And then in your second video, we're going to go right into imagining yourself being born in your family, in whatever environment you came into, and how that was for you. And we're going to try to bring back some of those memories and start to see what were some of those early beliefs, what were some of that early conditioning that happened at that time. So welcome, really glad you're here. I wish I could jump through the camera and sit right next to you, but this is the next best thing. So thanks for spending the time today. So we spent the first 5 weeks really grounding in that leadership, finding our voice, finding our expression, living from our internal reference point, and being self-referencing, so not looking to others to see if we're doing well, not living through other people's approval, not trying to fit in, which is all required for leadership. Leadership in our own life, leadership out in the world is an inside job. And it requires a lot of going back and really looking at that early conditioning. What did we learn about ourselves? What did we take on? And shame is one of the things we take on very early. So let's deconstruct shame. Let's talk about what it is. We have ideas about what it is, but let's really look. So we come into this world and we're a perfect child of God. We have been created as we are, and we're perfect in every way. Most of us come into an imperfect environment. We come into a group of caregivers that is more or less unprepared to take care of us. Why are they unprepared? Because their parents weren't prepared to take care of them. Their caregivers weren't prepared to take care of them. We pass along this adaptation of what we got, right? So you come into this world, and let's just imagine as a baby, you're popping out into these folks that had whatever childhood they had whatever beliefs they had whatever adaptations they had, and they have a lot of ideas about who you should be, how you should be, what it means to have a child, all those things. And they came from, their upbringing. So you come in and you can't feed yourself. You can't clean yourself. You can't soothe yourself. You can't even turn yourself over. So you're helpless. You're totally dependent on these caregivers to survive. So here we are as a baby, and our survival depends on these people coming when we cry, changing our diaper, feeding us, soothing us, keeping us warm. And even before we have any words, even before we can turn ourselves over, there can often be an alarm in the body that says, am I going to get my needs met? When I cry, is anyone going to come? Because for some of us, no one came right away. For some of us, we didn't get soothed. For some of us, we didn't feel like our needs were getting met. We felt like we had to cry really loud, or maybe we had to be really cute even before we got words, even before we could turn ourselves over. There was that needing to engage another person, the world out there, to survive. So that was happening even as we were a baby. And then as we got to be a little bit older, our parents started talking to us, and they started telling us how we needed to be. They started telling us when we were good and when we were bad. And they used that lifeline, their approval and their love, as a mechanism of how to shape us into the people they wanted us to be, or the kids that they wanted us to be. And they told us not to cry. They didn't want us to throw things or get angry. They wanted us to do what they said. They wanted us to listen to them. They wanted us to be quiet. They wanted us to be cute. They wanted us to accomplish tasks. They wanted us to please them. They wanted us to have less needs, to be less trouble. Now, that's not true across the board, but for most of us, we got those early messages that we get approval when we do certain things. We get approval when we don't make trouble. We get approval when we conform with the caregiver's wishes. That's very early programming. And so that all sounds fine. But what's happening inside is we're coming in preloaded as babies with all kinds of our own impulses, right? The impulse to express, to cry, to laugh, to scream, to run around, to go after things that, might be seen as mischievous. Like, that's our inner impulse. And what we learn very early is that we need to subvert that impulse in favor of surviving. To survive, we need to subvert our internal impulse, right? And that shows up as adults, right? We learned that our feelings, our needs, our voice, our experience doesn't matter. We need to subvert those things in favor of someone we're in a relationship with, in favor of a larger culture, in favor of what makes people comfortable. So there's that direct tie between our experience as little babies with our parents and our experience as adults. So this is how shame begins to form. We get early messages that we're bad when we cry, when we throw temper tantrums, when we're demanding, when we're loud, when we have a lot of needs, when we want things, when we don't want to share, when we're angry, when we're sad, when we do things that displease our caregivers, when we listen to our own impulses. All those things make us bad. And often we're even labeled as a bad kid, or a troublesome kid, or a kid that's a lot of work, or a kid that's different, or a kid that's weird. Happens so early. I mean, we are just learning to take our first step, taking our first bite, and we're already learning that these basic impulses that we have, the expression of our aliveness at 2 or 3, makes us bad, makes us wrong. So something that's inherently part of us is bad. And that is really the basis of shame, is that we take on this feeling that parts of us, part of this perfectly created child of God, is bad or unacceptable and unlovable. The reason that's important is that early shame translates into how we're going to live the rest of our life. And it also translates into how we're going to be inside of this skin. If I think my anger is bad, if I think my sadness is bad, if I think my needs don't matter, I'm going to push them down at whatever cost, because I need love. I need connection. I need these people to feed me and house me and not cast me out. So I'm going to do whatever I need to do inside to survive outside. So let's go a little deeper with this. So a lot of us as activists and folks that are in the change-making space get a lot of flack, get a lot of projection. We've heard that we're, bad people, demonizing, bringing darkness to spaces that we're just a menace. And that often triggers and stops and deeply wounds us. And many of us have gotten a lot of disapproval in a lot of different forms. And we want to kind of take our reaction to that back to early childhood. So we're having this experience inside of being angry, and we want to throw something, and then we're told we're a bad kid. We have this experience of needing something and crying. That's how we express our needs. That's how we know we have a need. And we're told we're bad. We have this experience of having needs, wanting closeness, wanting to engage our parents, and we're told we're bad. And that becomes this conditioning that tells us that when other people disapprove of us, when other people are uncomfortable with how we show up, there's something wrong with us. It's our fault. Kids don't have any other interpretation, right? The adults, the caregivers, are their source of survival. They're their lifeline. So if something is being disapproved of, it couldn't be their fault. It has to be our fault as children. The problem is we take that same framework into our adolescence and into our adulthood, and we walk around thinking that other people's disapproval, the world's disapproval, the world not being able to get who we are, is somehow our fault. And that is another aspect of shame. This belief that if there's a reaction out there that is less than favorable, the fault is ours. That we need to change fundamentally who we are. And that who we are is somehow faulty. And that we'll know who we are as good when other people approve of it. And this is super problematic because you're the people that are going to actually lead people to another way of being together. Another way of being connected to their own body. Another way of expression and inclusion, a different world. So if you're the leaders, if you're the ones that are bringing a new model, and you're dependent on the people that are groping in the dark with the old model, that we should all conform and no one should be different and no one should make anybody uncomfortable, it's going to be really hard. So we have that experience as young children, and we learn to subvert our internal experience. We learn to push down our emotions. We learn to push down our impulses. We learn to please the other people. But those impulses don't go away. We're pre-wired to be who we are. We're pre-wired to express all the divinity, all the power, all the flavors that are in your skin. Like, it's our destiny, right? We have to. So what happens is, as we get to be older kids, that need for expression starts to push inside, starts to say, I want to come out. And then we have this conflict develop, right? The whole external world is saying, don't be who you are. Subvert your anger, subvert your grief, subvert your gender identity, subvert who you're attracted to, subvert the way you walk, the way you talk, subvert and be cute for me, please me, do what I want you to do. So those are the messages coming from the outside, and the inside is this fire that wants to come out, that wants to express who you are. And that fire is the same fire that brought you to this course, right? So then there's this conflict. And then in adolescence, of course, that manifests in all kinds of rebellion and taking risk and acting out and sometimes harmful behavior. It's why so many people commit suicide in adolescence, because that conflict feels like it's a no-win. If I subvert myself, I feel dead inside and tortured. If I express myself, I'll lose love. I'll be cast out. Maybe I'll be beaten or hurt or really not a part of my family and my community. It's an impossible conflict that we go through. The fact that we all survive adolescence, particularly in this community, is a miracle. And what we know is that many of us don't. So we just shared a lot. And it all kind of boils down to, if I fully express what's inside of me, if I'm who I am just as I am, I won't be loved and I won't survive. If I fully express who I am, if I'm just as I am, who I am in every moment, I won't be loved and I won't survive. So let's just let that land. That's what we walk around with, right? That's what we've walked around with since before we could walk. And now we're in this process of stepping up into leadership. And in leadership, you get a lot more pushback. You're a lot more visible. There's a lot more that people have to say about you. It's like everything we experience in childhood amplified. And so if we don't heal those parts of us that developed in childhood that are so dependent on how other people think about us, experience us, react to us, approve of us, it's a very, very painful journey into leadership. So we've set the groundwork for this, and we're starting to get a feel for how this started really early, and how shame may be the reason, shame coming in the mask of shyness, why so many of you have not shared yet. And we purposely create these home groups so that everyone gets to share and everyone gets to be seen. You can't be a leader and not be visible. It's impossible. So you're gonna have to get comfortable being visible to yourself and to the world. And to do that, you've got to heal your shame. And you've got to really know in your body that there's no bad parts, that there's no mistakes, that everything, every impulse, every desire, every feeling, every part of your experience is perfectly created by God. So I'm going to keep saying that throughout this leadership course. And you're going to keep recognizing the truth of it. And when we spend time one-on-one, it's another way for your heart and my heart to meet and for you to recognize the truth of those statements, that there is nothing about you that is not perfect. There's no mistake. There's nothing that needs to be fixed. What needs to be healed is all that was put on top of that perfection. So let's do some unpacking. If you're willing, let's drop inside and see how this lives in our very own body. I'm going to put my feet on the floor. I'm going to cast my eyes down. And let's just go right into a deeper breath. I'm breathing into my belly. I'm putting my hand on my belly. And I'm just letting my breath deepen. I'm settling into my heart. I'm putting my other hand on my heart. I'm inviting you, I'm inviting me to feel how all that landed. How was it to even start to think about how it was for you? As a little baby coming into the environment you came into, as a toddler, trying to negotiate all those messages, all those instructions on how you should be. As a preteen and a teenager, trying to reckon with that impossible conflict of your inner impulse to be who you are and all the outer messages that if you're who you are, you will be cast out. You will have no love. You will have no belonging. That impossible conflict. How was it for us to just name that as a place that is in your past, as a place that you've navigated? Let's take ourselves back and breathe into these legs, our upper legs, our lower legs, and our feet. Let's bring a lot of breath into those feet, feeling those feet on the ground. Let's bring breath into the heart. Noticing how the heart's feeling, any emotions that are there, anything that you've been living over, anything that's frozen in your heart, anything you're worrying about, anything that you're angry about, anything that you're sad or grieving about. Just making space for that in your heart. And then always breathing into your shoulders and noticing what have you been carrying around, what are the burdens that you're holding. We're often holding those burdens from when we were very young. We've been holding these burdens often for most of our lives. Noticing any burdens that you're holding on your shoulders. You don't have to name them, but just noticing the weight of them. And breathing into your arms. Feeling your arms, these arms that as a toddler reached out for support. As he's a toddler, probably pushed people away. Was this toddler that reached out for a hand, looked for cuddles, and these hands that held your first food, that held your bottle, that held your pacifier if you had one, that held a stuffed animal. And as you feel these hands and these arms and this chest and these legs, imagining yourself as a toddler, as a young 2 to 5-year-old, and just see if any image comes, or maybe just a vague sense. And seeing if you can kind of drop into yourself as a young child and notice how it was. Was it okay to cry? Could you have tears? Could you be really upset? Was it okay to be angry? Could you assert your will? Could you have a temper tantrum? Could you throw things? Was it okay not to want to share? Could you have your own stuff? Could you have boundaries? Could you say, no, that's mine? Was it okay to not listen to your caregivers, to ignore their instructions, to go outside when they said, stay inside, to not come in when they called you, to reject their instructions? Was it okay to have your own will? Was it okay to be defiant, to say no to their face? Was it okay to fight, to have your needs met, to be demanding? Was it okay to be loud, both in joy and in the expression of your emotions? Could you sing loudly? Could you dance? Could you scream? Could you be loud? Again, just breathing, imagining yourself as that young toddler version of you, and just feeling into what it was like for you. You were so little. No one gave you a rule book. You were trying to figure it all out, and all you had as a reference point were these people you were totally dependent on. They were your only source of information. And noticing, was it okay to be messy? Could you make a big mess, as kids do? You know, whether you came in muddy from outside, or you spread your toys all around the room, or you found some ink or some paint and you got it all over the floor, all over the walls. Could you be messy? And could you have needs? I've asked you that one a few times. Could you need to be held? Could you need to eat? Could you need to be listened to? Could you need to be cared for? Was it okay for you to have needs? Or did you get the message you had too many needs, or not the right needs? Was it okay to want to be touched? Was it okay to want to be comforted? Was there a place where you could rest? You know, as toddlers, we can't regulate our own emotions. We're just learning how to do that. And the same big emotions are coming through us, sometimes bigger than when we're adults. But we don't have the ability to cope and manage with those emotions. So we depend on our caregivers to help us, to soothe us, to talk to us, to hold us, to tell us it's going to be okay. Did you have that? Did you have that comfort? Just breathing and feeling how it was for you as a little toddler. And then thinking of what happened. What happened when you did the wrong thing? Whatever that was in your house. Maybe it was being loud, maybe it was being defiant, maybe it was being angry, maybe it was being demanding. But what happened when you did the wrong thing, when you got the disapproval? Did your caregivers withhold love and affection? Did they pull back from you? Did they tell you you were bad or wrong? Did they tell you to change what you're feeling? You don't have anything to be sad about. Why are you so mad? Did they point out what was wrong with you, how you were bad or wrong? You shouldn't want that. You shouldn't feel that. You should share. You're a selfish person. Did they point out how wrong or bad you were to other people? Did they say, why can't you be more like your brother or your sister? Did they share with other relatives, look what this bad kid is doing? Did they punish you? Did they isolate you? Did they grab you? Did they hit you? Your parents, your caregivers were doing the best they knew how to do. They were giving you what they got. So we're not blaming them, but we're remembering what happened to you. And the reason we're doing that is we want to heal that place. We want to heal all those assumptions that came from that early treatment. Just feeling into what it was like when your parents didn't approve of you being too loud, taking up too much space, being too much of a burden, having emotions that were too big, acting in the wrong way, having too many questions, wanting too much, needing too much. When your impulses, when your spontaneous childlike impulses upset people, what was their reaction? And what was your reaction to their reaction? What were you as a child experiencing from these adults? What were you making all that mean? For most of us, we thought, this is my fault, I need to change, but how do I change? So just taking a minute with that young toddler part of you and noticing what it was like to live in the environment you were in, to receive the messages you received, to have or not have whatever you had, and just seeing if you can offer some sadness, some compassion, some love for this child that you were. And if you're willing to put a hand on your heart and imagining that you're holding this child, that you're saying to them, I know there were so many parts of you that didn't get seen, that didn't get felt, that didn't get acknowledged, that didn't get celebrated then. And I'm committed to making space for all those parts now. I need those parts now. I need those parts. Those alive, curious, creative, passionate, emotional parts. I need all those parts. All those parts that are in you, my toddler self, to lead. For what's next, I need you to come along. And when you feel like that child in you has received those messages, gently again feeling your feet on the floor and slowly coming back into this room, into this space that we're sharing, and just noticing how you are. For many people, never go back to that early time before 7, sometimes even before 3. It's courageous work you're doing. So as we do, we're going to capture a little bit of what might have come up in the meditation. And I just want to say again, we all get our inner wisdom. We all have our memories come back in different ways. For some of us, it's a very clear memory. For some of us, it's words. For some of us, it's just a vague sense. trust whatever way that you receive information, that things come back to you. And also trust that we're built to feel our journey and what's happened to us to the extent that it's tolerable for us. So this is a gradual process. And for many of us, we may get a piece now, we may get a piece next week, we may get a piece in week 12. So trust whatever you get today and trust that what's revealed is perfect for this moment. So I'm going to give you a slide and you'll have 3 minutes, and I'd love you to keep writing during the whole time the ticker is going. And the slide says, what feelings, behaviors, and ways of expressing yourself did your caregivers not approve of? So what did you do? Maybe you repressed it pretty early, but what was not okay in your house? What kinds of behaviors and feelings would you have that your caregivers would disapprove of? Write them down now. Okay, great work. So the polar of that was the group of behaviors and parts of ourselves that we were pushing down to get our caregivers' approval. And there were also parts of ourselves that we were bringing forward, that we were amplifying. Being compliant, being cute, being quiet, knowing how to please people, knowing what people needed. These can all be parts of ourselves that we bring forward in order to get the love, in order to get the approval, and in order to survive in our little family unit, in our small community. So the next slide is, what feelings, behaviors, and ways of expressing yourself did your caregivers approve of and reward you for? There's a slide to guide you and remind you. Please keep writing the whole time, and if there's more to write, just pause the video and keep writing, and then come back when you're finished. So we're going to keep exploring. You're doing an amazing job, and this is deep work. And I'd like you to just finish the sentence, and the slide will show you the repeated sentence. And the sentence is, to get love, I needed to be. To get love, I needed to be. Don't know what you're going to say. Be surprised by how that sentence is finished. And I'm going to ask you to keep writing the whole time and keep repeating that sentence. To get love, I needed to be. And just see what shows up as you finish that sentence. Again, you've got 3 minutes. If there's more to say, keep writing that sentence and finishing it as long as you want, and then come back to the video. Great work. So the last writing prompt today is, to survive in my family, I needed to hide or control my, finish the sentence. To survive in my family, I needed to hide or control my, and finish the sentence. Again, please keep writing for the whole time on the timer. And if there's more to write, just pause the video and continue until you're finished, and then come back. Great work. And so we're going to bring everything we've done together. And the purpose of all of our work together today was to start to open up to how shame formed inside of us and how that shame is expressing in our life today and how it really had a big influence on our experience of childhood. So we're going to bring all that together in this very last writing prompt, which is the messages I learned in childhood about how I must feel, act, and behave to survive, get love and approval were. It's a big sentence. You don't have to repeat the sentence, but just list the ways. The messages I learned in childhood about how I must feel, act, and behave to survive and get love and approval were blank. And just list all those ways that you needed to be to get that love and approval. You've got 3 minutes. And again, pause the video if you've got more to say, and we'll come back and finish. Amazing work today. Between now and Monday, please look over your answers. Spend some time with that toddler inside of you and bring them to the Monday class. We'll be talking about shame. There'll be a lot of opportunity to share. And then you'll watch part 2 of the video if you haven't already. We'll go into that specific time period between 0 and 7. And we'll be working on childhood in your home group this week. See you soon. Thanks for being here.